Our main character is Ruta, an excellent player in a team-based fighting game. He and his team have steadily climbed to the top 10 in the world rankings. He's confident that he's now the best player in his country, and he wants to climb higher by competing with foreign opponents. The game he plays is globally famous, where people use bombs instead of guns, which increases the game's tactical aspect. He has been unemployed for 22 years, but in this game world, he is the best player. He even has a girlfriend in the game. He could live forever in this game world without needing to return to reality. Suddenly, when he opens his eyes, he finds himself in a forest, carrying a parachute on his back, his body aching. He removes himself from the parachute and doesn't remember why he's there. There's blood on his head. He takes out his phone, but there's no signal. Moreover, there's a strange stone in his hand that doesn't cause any pain. Thinking he might have been abducted by aliens, he finds his bag nearby containing clothes and another small bag, as well as some temporary food and drink. He decides to explore to find out where he is and starts moving out of the forest. He encounters several scary insects that make him panic and run away. When he gets out of the forest, he only sees a vast ocean. He gradually remembers what happened. On that day, his mother had registered him for a job at a convenience store without asking him, which made him angry and raise his voice at her. When he went out to buy groceries, he encountered some men in suits looking for him. He then ate the only bento he had and now wonders what he'll eat tomorrow. As for the small bag, which certainly isn't his, he decides to open it. He takes one out to examine it, and his fiddling causes it to activate and start a countdown. Feeling uneasy, he throws it away, and when the countdown ends, it explodes. Not knowing why there are bombs in his bag, he decides to ignore it and run away. He then sees someone in the distance and tries to signal them, but the person takes out a bomb and throws it at him. Realizing the danger after the explosion and noting how similar this is to the game, he grabs the bag of bombs and runs away. The person keeps chasing him relentlessly. Thinking he's lost his pursuer and wanting to find a hiding place, more bombs come his way. With no other choice, he wants to fight back. He throws a bomb, but it doesn't explode. He then remembers the activation process, and just as the pursuer comes down, he throws it, but it explodes slower than expected. Without instructions, he doesn't know how to use them properly. The pursuer realizes this and chases after him, but before he can spot Ruta, the latter is already behind him with a bomb, threatening him. Ruta asks about this place and the bombs, and the pursuer realizes Ruta has lost his memory. He thinks someone who doesn't know how to use bombs like Ruta could never threaten him. He throws a bomb at Ruta, but misses, allowing Ruta to escape once more. Ruta runs away and decides to surrender, but still gets bombed and falls into a nearby grass field. The pursuer can't see him, but the stone in Ruta's hand helps him sense that the pursuer is nearby. Ruta realizes this thing seems like a radar and knows hiding forever is pointless. He takes out a bomb and realizes it's a time type, while the pursuer's bombs explode on impact with objects. Everything is just like in the game, which makes Ruta try to reassure himself that as a top 10 player in the world, this should be what he's best at. Ruta then realizes the pursuer doesn't know his location, so when the pursuer plans to counterattack by throwing bombs everywhere to hit Ruta, no matter where he hides, Ruta decides to run and hide underwater. The pursuer plans to wait for Ruta to surface to throw a bomb, but he doesn't realize that Ruta has set a trap under his feet, and when he realizes, it's too late. Underwater, Ruta sees the pursuer's body parts falling, making him so disgusted he wants to vomit. He considers this self-defense. Afterwards, Ruta dreams about the time he applied for a job at a game company but was rejected. His mother was very worried and wanted to find him a job, but he harshly scolded her. The relationship between mother and son has been strained since then. In the end, the fault lies with Ruta, as he kept drifting without trying to find a proper job for himself. He wake up and feel very hungry because he vomited up her dinner last night. He then see a girl on the other side of the stream. he swallow and approach her, causing her to back away in fear. Our female protagonist had previously met Ruta in a game. She admired him greatly at that time because he was very talented and featured in gaming magazines. He personally invited her to join his team when he saw her sitting alone. She was waiting for a friend who hadn't shown up, so Ruta invited her to play together instead of just sitting idle. She believed fate had brought them together. The next day, her friend came to apologize for forgetting their plans due to having guests over the night before. We also learned that the girl's name is Himiko. In real life, Himiko attracts a lot of attention from boys. Himiko also brags to her friend about playing games with someone famous the night before. The two girls go out together, and Himiko wonders what Ruta is like in real life, worrying what if he's actually an old man. Her friend advises her to daydream a little. They take photos while cosplaying as their game avatars, not knowing how Ruta would react if he discovered he had been playing with a cute blonde high school girl. Himiko was just an ordinary student, yet somehow she ended up here. She thinks she's being punished. After looking around, she sees a bag of grenades nearby and worries she'll have to kill someone. She then looks into the forest and thinks it looks cool, but fears being bitten by insects, so she reconsiders and rests in the shade. She remembers a time at school when her friends brought out a paper with a rumor that if he write the name of someone he wants to disappear on it, it will come true and the writer will receive 1 million yen. Suddenly, Himiko wakes up and sees 3 older men in front of her. They haven't done anything to her and tell her they mean no harm. They propose forming a group with her and using bombs to fish for food. The island shows very few signs of life, so they may have to wait for a ship to pass by. Otherwise, they'll have to participate in this game. The friendly older man believes they shouldn't participate in this inhumane game, but the man with a tied head calls him a hypocrite. He says he's a teacher, so he always knows what's right, and he's not weak because he's a 4th-degree judo practitioner. However, martial arts are nothing compared to bombs here. As the two sides prepare to fight, the man with the tied head takes Himiko hostage and gives the teacher a choice: die to prove he's willing to follow his ideals and morals, or attack and be a hypocrite. Himiko uses an electric baton to escape, so the man with the tied head releases her and reveals it was just a test to make the teacher see reality. They then decide to elect a group leader, and Himiko is chosen. She doesn't understand why she was picked. Suddenly, they discover something being dropped from a plane. It contains food and water. All 3 start eating ravenously when the teacher returns. He suggests they should ration the food, but the man with the tied head slits his throat for being troublesome. Shocked, Himiko flashes back to when she and her friends went to a senpai's house to hang out. When they met the senpais to be led to the house, Himiko asks to go home briefly and come back. She wakes up and the fat man pulls her along. They both want to escape from the other man, fearing he'll kill them like he did the teacher. They run away and the fat man shows her how to use the radar in the stone. She tries it and discovers the other man is chasing them. They run to a suspension bridge and Himiko crosses first. The fat man is too scared to cross, but the other man catches up behind him. In fear, the fat man throws a bomb and runs across. The other man notices the bomb releasing some kind of smoke, with plants dying around it, so he realizes it's poison gas. The fat man grabs Himiko's hand to escape together. She doesn't want to kill anyone, so he starts overreacting, forcing her to punch him in the face to get away. He starts to go crazy and tries to attack her, but she threatens him with the electric baton. She remembers returning to the senpai's house and discovering her friends had been raped by the senpai and his group. She resisted and ran away, hearing her best friend calling for help. But she was too scared and abandoned her friends to call the police. Although the senpai's group was arrested, her friends shunned her from then on, blaming her for running away. She then hid in a corner and thought this was her punishment. The fat man found her and pinned her down. He decided to punish her and was about to commit an indecent act, but she decided to take out a bomb to die together with him. Too scared, he ran away, and she called him a coward and threw the bomb at him. She had just killed someone but felt no guilt, so she decided to keep in mind that men are scum and will protect herself at all costs. When she went to wash her body, she met Ruda. He didn't pay attention to the fact that she was bathing, but only noticed that she had quite a bit of food. When she ran away, he tried to chase after her. Not knowing which direction she ran, he remembered that this stone had radar-like abilities. He focused and activated it, seeing the direction she ran, and immediately followed. He then detected a signal in that bush, so he grabbed a bomb and rushed out. An old man appeared and fell backwards. He begged for his life because he didn't want to participate in this and didn't want to die while falling on his own shit. He wanted him to pull up his pants and tell him about this game. The man realized the boy didn't remember anything from the plane. They then went to a stream to talk. The man remembered when he was kidnapped by men in black, and when he woke up, he was on the plane. There were about 30 people on the plane and many armed men around. A man appeared on the screen and told them this was a game he created. He couldn't believe that person dared to see this as a game. This plane was taking them to an island in the Pacific, but there would be no food or water there. If they wanted to escape, they had to participate in the game. Anyone who dared to resist now would be electrocuted with high voltage. They would have to fight with these grenades. There were many types of grenades and each person would be given 8. No one knew what type they would get, and there would be no instructions for use, so be careful before using them. To escape, they had to collect chips like the one on their hand. It would give them radar ability. To escape, they had to collect 8 chips including their own, and chips could only be taken when that person died. At that time, Ruda had stood up to protest. He didn't remember what happened, also because at that time, he had stood up to oppose and seemed to know who the man on the screen was. Because he resisted, he was subdued and electrocuted in the head. They were then forced to wear parachutes and pushed off the plane. The parachutes would open automatically, so anyone who refused to go would be electrocuted to fall. When he was dropped, the man on the screen seemed to know that Ruda was the top player in the game. Now he understood why he had blood on his head and was in the forest at the beginning. He then tried to reason and saw that all the rules were similar to the game he played, and the person behind it could be the developer of the game he topped. He realized he would have to experience killing people 6 more times if he wanted to escape. He wasn't sure he could do that. The old man saw that he seemed shocked when hearing the truth, so he invited him to team up. He hesitated, making the old man think he didn't want to. He was just worried that if they went together, they would have to kill up to 14 people. The old man didn't want to participate in this game at all, but would try to find another way to escape. He still hesitated, making the man think he saw him as a burden, but he agreed to go together on the condition that he wanted to see what type of bomb the man had. But the man refused because they didn't trust each other yet, so they needed to keep a secret weapon for each other. At the same time, it was also a way for both to respect each other. He realized the man wasn't foolish. Realizing the man was smart made him more confident that he wouldn't betray him. They then put aside their doubts and introduced themselves to each other. The man's name was Uncle Terra, and after talking, he felt he seemed good too, yet was brought here. They then heard a sound in the sky, so Ruda went up to check. Uncle Terra then ran up, and they both discovered it was the sound of a plane. It dropped something down, and Ruda realized it was food supplies. He noticed one nearby and was about to run over to get it. He saw a girl had already rushed out to grab it first. But suddenly, the place where she stood exploded, and then a man stepped out, took the chip, and ran away with all the bombs and the supply suitcase. He realized that this person seemed to have been lurking here and set a trap in advance. It was obvious because when food was seen, everyone would come to it. He didn't understand how people could kill others without thinking anything. Uncle Terra then climbed up, and he apologized for not getting the food. The man saw the corpse, and he informed him that someone had come to set a trap beforehand. He should have been the one who hit the bomb. He also saw a food suitcase over there, but it wasn't worth exchanging for his life. Uncle Tara encouraged him and said that one must eat to live. They would try to get there and get the food. If they couldn't get it, then so be it, but they must not give up without trying. So they slid down the mountain and set off to get food. We then learn about a person named Kira, 14 years old. He ran away from home because he was abused by his father, which led to bad habits of stealing and pickpocketing, ending with killing and raping 3 women. He was arrested, and the police said that although he looked cute, he was mentally ill. The best lawyer chose to bail out this madman to enhance his reputation, and depending on the degree of mental illness, this guy might not have to go to jail. The police were helpless when they saw him open his mouth and smile. When thrown up here with the lawyer, Kira started killing frogs just for fun. The lawyer still believed he could reform this madman. He didn't know how to explain it to Kira. They then saw supplies being dropped. The lawyer wanted Kira to let his father follow. He wasn't afraid to argue with the lawyer, but when in front of his father, he was as quiet as a mouse. This attitude had made Kira's father increasingly violent. The 3 of them then went to the supply drop, and the father took Kira's bomb to attach to a tree to bring down the supplies. But only the owner of the bomb could use it, so Kira was forced to detonate it. The bomb created a vacuum area and caused the tree to fall. The father then monopolized the suitcase and said only those who followed him could eat. When the lawyer objected, he said that lawyers had no power here because the law here was jungle law. Kira was angry with this father and was scolded by him. He squeezed the boy and made Kira remember the time he was abused. He pulled out a bomb and attached it to the man. The man couldn't take off his shirt in time and was sucked to death. He still thought the lawyer would protect him, but the lawyer had had enough of this madman. The father was bad, but the son was worse. He called Kira a curse on humanity and ran away. While angry, Kira discovered someone coming. Ryuta and Uncle Tara had arrived. He realized he hadn't detected Kira, probably because the radar couldn't detect people standing still. He saw that Kira had just killed someone, and Kira said there were no rules here, so whoever deserved to die would die, and the strong would survive. Kira had taken bombs from his father, so the 2 took the opportunity to run away. He wouldn't let them run because this place was very similar to the game he was best at. Kira used radar to follow them. Ryuta didn't know what to do now, whether he should fight or continue running. Suddenly, Uncle Tara tripped and sprained his ankle. He wanted to run and leave him behind. He didn't know if he should risk his life to save someone he had just met. Then he decided to tell the man to stay put while he would lure that madman in another direction. He then decided to teach that kid a lesson and take all his bombs, because after all, he was the best player in the world. Both sides then continuously used radar to check each other's positions. After determination, Ryuta turned back, and the 2 faced each other and dropped bombs on the ground. Through this action, both sides recognized that the opponent was a skilled player, but Ryuta realized this kid was only 3-star ranked while he was 4-star. Kira was excited to see that he was also a player. Uncle Tara took the opportunity to go get the chip from that father, while Ryuta had to see what kind of bomb this evil kid had left. He then tried to run away and set a trap for Kira. Kira only knew to chase and then fell into Ryuta's trap. The trap was still too light to take down Kira. Kira knew he would attack from the front, so he threw a vacuum bomb. It stuck to the backpack, so Ryuta quickly threw the backpack away. Kira knew he was a player, but only strong in the game, not in real life. The kid stood up to lecture Ryuta, so he thought the kid was just someone who didn't know right from wrong. Exposing his position caused him to hit a bomb and bang his head on a rock. He then realized this seemed to be just a game, so he viewed it as a game. The feeling now was similar to every time he played, so he started to immerse himself. When discovered, he used an empty bag to block the vacuum bomb. He then kept moving. Kira kept using radar to scan for his position, but couldn't see anything. Thinking he was standing still, he threw bombs, but then the boy appeared behind. He kept running in circles, and even though the kid turned on the radar, he still couldn't see anything. He had mastered a technique that only pros could do, which was to jam the radar. As long as he activated the radar at the right time when the kid used it, it would cause interference. Kira didn't know where he was, whether he was moving or standing still, and began to get confused. So he gently gave the kid a bomb. He then regained awareness of reality and realized what he had just done, and he had just almost killed someone again. He then tied Kira up and took his things and left. The kid wanted to know his name, so he said his game name. Kira realized he was the only Japanese player in the global top and found this island very interesting. Ryuta and Uncle Tera then had a meal after many days on the island. Although it was just an ordinary cup of noodles, at this time it was a delicacy that they had to risk their lives to get. The man couldn't stop talking about how grateful he was to Ryuta. He even risked his life for him, which moved him to tears. He felt this was the first time someone had been so grateful to him, but he wondered what he had done to be brought here. Meanwhile, at home, Ryuta's mother was about to end her life when his father came back in time to save her. She wanted to die because she had failed in her duty as a mother. She had raised Ryuta so poorly that he didn't even see the man as his father. She was the one who wrote his name on that paper and caused him to be brought here. Back to Ryuta, he and Uncle Tera discovered the corpse of the fat man falling from the waterfall. He wanted to go check if there were enemies up there and told Uncle Tera to hide here with the supplies. Checking his inventory, he had 2 time bombs, 6 artillery shells, and 3 vacuum bombs. He ran up but didn't turn on the radar for fear of being detected by enemies, so he wanted to check with his naked eyes. He then found a corpse that had begun to rot and decided not to vomit. The chip seemed to have been taken away. Uncle Tera down there had also taken the chip from the fat man's corpse. After a moment of hesitation, Ryuta decided to use the radar. He saw someone on the mountain and realized it was the girl he had met. He thought she was the one who had killed the 2 corpses he saw. Himiko had realized she was being scanned, so she threw a poison gas bomb and forced Ryuta to run out of the forest and face her. He noticed she had 4 bags on her, so if they competed in the number of bombs, he would surely lose. He tried to negotiate and ask for peace. She agreed to listen and put down her bomb, but his approach made her worried and she threw a bomb at him, thinking he was trying to lower her guard. He survived the bomb and decided to charge forward. As he rushed past, she pulled out an electric baton to attack, forcing him to dodge. He was still trying to negotiate when she was about to rush in and jab him. The image of being electrocuted made him panic and kick her hand, causing her to electrocute herself. Seeing her unconscious, he took her bombs away. Desire rose up, making him consider taking advantage in this place where no one could see, but he restrained himself and realized that the fat man he saw was probably the reason Himiko was so afraid. He carried her away, and when she woke up, he informed her that her body was still paralyzed due to the electric baton, and he wanted her to rest assured that he wouldn't harm her. But she took out a time bomb and threatened to die together with him. She would rather die while still pure than be defiled. He managed to stop her before the bomb exploded. Seeing that she was really serious, he took her back to where Uncle Tera was. The 2 invited her to eat and told her to rest assured. Both wanted to leave the island, so they needed her to join to help. But she wondered what was the point of going back, when the people they knew had decided to sign papers to make them disappear. If they returned and met those people, what would they do next? Ryuta didn't know how she had this information, but she was the one whose friends had written her name. Uncle Tera had good relations with his family, but had previously argued with a customer. Ryuta realized that all the people on this island were hated at home, which is why they were brought here. It seemed that his mother was the one who wrote his name on the paper. He hadn't accepted this truth when suddenly all 3 heard rustling in the forest. It was heading towards them, and the radar couldn't detect anything. Uncle Tera took a flashlight from the supplies and shined it to see many pairs of eyes. All 3 chose to run away, but Himiko was still affected by the electric shock. The thing attacking them was revealed to be giant lizards. He handed Himiko over to Uncle Terra to go back for the supplies. He hit a lizard's head with a rock and threw a bomb at the group chasing Uncle Terra, but he didn't see it explode. He realized that because he hadn't killed that kid, the bomb wasn't under his ownership yet. He rummaged through his own bag, and because there were too many bags, Uncle Terra was bitten on the leg. He had just found a bomb and threw it to drive the lizards away. The three then left, with Ruta carrying Himiko and Uncle Terra carrying the bombs and supplies. The man saw that he was truly a hero that few could be. He could have left him and Himiko to run away, but he still chose to help. He wanted him to be less pessimistic. Honestly, the man was also very afraid every time he left. He didn't know if he would come back or had abandoned him. As for what Himiko said earlier, it seemed true for him. He might be good to his family, but was very dictatorial at work and had done quite a few bad things, so it was understandable if someone hated him. He believed this was his punishment. He was then attacked by lizards again. Uncle Terra had run ahead. He got separated from the man and wandered in the forest in the dark. He worriedly used the radar to find him, but couldn't see anything. He thought the man had stood still and intentionally taken all the food away. He was attacked by a lizard again, but a bomb flew in to deal with it. Uncle Terra had returned and had been struggling to find him. He realized both sides had been using radar, causing interference. He apologized for doubting the man, but he didn't blame him because when people are afraid, they tend to think of negative things. The man no longer kept his bomb type a secret, because before he didn't trust he completely, but now he had put his trust in him. He believed he would be saved if he went with him. The three then felt the sea breeze, so they knew they were close to getting out of the forest. Uncle Terra found a hut ahead, so they quickly brought Himiko there. They had to get Himiko up to the hut to avoid the lizards behind, but the ladder was rusty and broke, causing all three to fall. Uncle Terra asked him to take Himiko up while he held off the lizards, but his bombs were the tracking type. They could only take down single targets and couldn't destroy them all. He desperately tried to wake Himiko up, and when Uncle Terra returned, he had climbed up alone. The man thought he was going to save himself and abandon Himiko, but he had run back and thrown a gas bomb into the middle of the forest. The lizards ran away. He wanted Uncle Terra to step back and informed him of the extremely toxic effect of this gas. Because they were in the direction of the wind, the gas wouldn't blow up here. The way he was able to use it was by having Himiko's hand activated for him. He now saw the difference between the game and real life. In the game, there couldn't be wind, and he also couldn't use other people's bombs. Himiko then woke up. All three went up to the hut and noticed that there seemed to have been a battle here before. Uncle Terra then suddenly felt unwell. His wound hadn't been bandaged and disinfected, so it started to swell and cause him pain. He then passed out, and Ruta had to find a way to help. After scouting around, he knew the lizards would return. Himiko didn't know if he had done anything while she was unconscious, but he blushed, causing her to call he a terrible person. When he touched her to explain, she became frightened and didn't allow anyone to touch her. He then went to get medicine to disinfect Uncle Terra's wound. Although it hurt, he wanted he to continue, but his body writhed, forcing he to ask Himiko to hold him down. She was still afraid of touching others, so he reminded her that Uncle Terra was injured because he protected her. Uncle Terra was temporarily stable afterwards, but they didn't know what to do next. The game administrator came to check and discovered that Ruta was still alive and had encountered 4 players but only killed 1 and was now teaming up with 2 others. The hat-wearing man wanted the staff to continue observing Ruta as he was a valuable source of data. Ruta then noticed that Himiko seemed to be into cosplay based on her phone background. When he wanted to know her name, she kicked him in the leg for peeking at her phone. She had no intention of joining the group with both of them and didn't trust either, so she wouldn't give her name. But he had something to ask about the number of bombs and the suitcase, how she got them. She could only use different types of bombs if their owners had died. He wondered if she had killed those people to obtain these items. He also didn't trust her and thought she might betray he at any time. She tried to explain her hardships, but he weren't sure if she was pretending, because if she betrayed and killed both of he now, she would have enough chips to return. Suddenly, he sensed someone using radar. Himiko was the only one detected, so she wanted to leave to avoid involving the two of he. But Ruda noticed that the opponent had only detected one person, so he decided to actively show himself to mislead them. When he returned, he would continue the conversation. He then went into the forest and activated the radar to find the location and ran to lure the opponent away from the hut. But as soon as he activated it again, someone was behind him. He dodged in time, and the attacker was the headband guy that Himiko had escaped from. He then chased after Ruda, who had to jump down and take out a bomb to threaten him because this guy used a knife. He wanted him to join her side, but he refused, so he resorted to threats. Suddenly, a bomb flew towards he. He met the lawyer, who had sided with this guy. He saw that he had more than one type of bomb, so he considered he a murderer and wanted the headband guy to deal with he immediately. But he shocked the lawyer with electricity and ran away. The headband guy didn't kill he right away, but would follow he back to her hideout. He returned to meet Uncle Tara and Himiko, but she wanted to ignore both of he, take her things, and leave. However, the other guy had followed he here. He used to be a mercenary, so tracking footprints was easy for him. He met Himiko again and knew that following Ruda would lead him to her because he recognized the electric baton. He saw his stuff with her and figured that the fat guy must have been killed by her. He wanted the chips from them, but Ruda took out the electric baton to threaten him. He thought he knew about this game and would try to find its flaws to help them return without killing. But he saw he as too childish and knew he also wanted 8 chips to leave. He was about to stab he when Uncle Terror rushed in and had 4 fingers cut off by him. He were punched and fell off the hut. When Ruda regained consciousness, he realized he had luckily gotten stuck in a tree. He ran back to the hut to find only Uncle Terra there, with all belongings taken. He saw Himiko's phone left behind and looked at the picture. Realizing this was the Himiko he had loved in the game, he decided to go save her, but Uncle Terra needed him there. He promised to return with medicine to stop the bleeding, but Uncle said if he left him now, he would truly go insane. Nevertheless, he still left. Himiko was now tied up by the other 2 guys. The mercenary decided to torture her slowly. He made a small cut on her hand when the radar signal came. Himiko had broadcast again, and the mercenary knew Ruda was still alive. He sent the lawyer to throw bombs at he while he would wait to stab he if he passed by, because they knew he had no bombs left. The explosion then rang out, and the mercenary didn't know who was still alive, so he waited to see who would come in. But he only saw the lawyer, who had thrown a bomb at Ruda when he saw him, but he had disappeared. Both used radar, but he avoided detection by standing still. He then snuck in and reached the room where Himiko was held. When a bomb fell, he caught it in time and deactivated it. He learned that if he could deactivate a bomb, he could use it. He went in to rescue Himiko and talked about playing together in the game, wondering if it was her. She knew this was the Ruda she had cared for all along but didn't admit it, so he thought he might have mistaken her for another Himiko. As they escaped, they were detected by radar, so the mercenary sent the lawyer to deal with Ruda. He chased he and threw bombs, but he dodged and threw back the bomb he had just acquired. However, Himiko was captured again. He gave he a chance to stand up for a hand-to-hand fight and throw away the knife. He decided to aim for the knife. He had figured out where the 8 chips were gathered. He had at least 2 chips since he had more than one type of bomb. Himiko and the fat guy 2 chips. Uncle Terra and the lawyer 2 more. The teacher he killed and himself 2 chips, making 8 in total. He gave he an opening to grab the knife, but as soon as he got it, he rushed in, beat he up, and locked her arms. He claimed he had broken the rules by touching the knife in a hand-to-hand fight. Himiko rushed to save he but was pushed away by him. However, she managed to plant a gas bomb on him. As the gas started to spread, both of he had to run away. Cornered, Ruta saw an escape route. He climbed up and reached out to pull Himiko up with him, but the other guy was still chasing and grabbed her leg. He threw back a bomb. He thought he needed 10 seconds to stop the bomb, but this one he had taken from the lawyer was already set to a 3-second countdown. Both of he escaped death, and the game master saw that Ruta had defeated the person expected to win this game. In the past, when Himiko was ostracized by friends, she had just huddled at home. Ruta was the one who came to talk with her. He wouldn't ask questions because everyone has their own secrets. He just wanted her to remember that he would always be by her side. Back to the present, Ruta had gained 3 more chips from the recent incident, but he still decided not to let this game drive him crazy like the others. As for the game organizers, they had used 3D simulations based on the game participants. It seemed they were planning to use these 3D simulations to develop games in the future. That night, Ruta and Himiko had to stay there because the forest path was very dangerous at night. He took out food to share with Himiko and went to change. When he finished changing, he returned to Himiko and decided to sleep in another room, but she allowed him to sleep in the same room as long as he didn't cross a certain line. She thought he was also too crazy to come here without any weapons. He had hoped she was the Himiko he knew from the game because he was just a kid, unemployed, and only knew how to bury himself in games. He put his online friends above everything, and Himiko was the one who accepted his reality, making him very worried if she was really in danger. Yet it turned out he had mistaken her identity. He thought she was asleep, but actually, she was just trying to suppress her emotions. When she was desperate, he came to save her, and he was the Ruta she knew. But even so, her mind was conflicted between hating all men and whether to make Ruta an exception. She had dreamed of their wedding day in the game, and now it was in real-life form. Suddenly, a light shone in, waking her up, and she saw someone very scary and screamed. Ruta didn't know who was in there, but she described the person she saw as looking like a ghost. She couldn't see clearly because of the light shining in her eyes. Hearing that the person had a light, he suspected it was a player, so they went to search together. He was about to split up to search when she got a bit scared. Using radar didn't show anything. Suddenly, he saw a light over there, so he left Himiko with the flashlight and went to check. If anything happened, she should flash the radar to let him know. When he arrived at the spot, he discovered that this might be where an enemy was hiding. After he went inside, he didn't see anyone, but there was still a supply suitcase. He then suspected it was a trap, and were about to leave when the ghost was behind he and tried to slash he, but he reacted in time. The next hit was almost lucky. While stuck with the scythe, he kicked the ghost away. He then realized it was a woman, and her hand with the chip was gone, which was why he couldn't see her on the radar. He wondered how long she had been there. He then went back to call Himiko, who was so startled that she hit he in the face. When they met the woman, she woke up and panicked upon seeing Ruta, so Himiko asked he to go outside. She then talked to the woman, who saw that Himiko seemed to trust Ruta, so she told her story. She was a nurse at a small hospital, working diligently until she was over 40 without realizing it. Once, the doctor she admired got into trouble, so she tried hard to save him, only to have the guilt pushed onto her. Not long after, she was thrown up here and met the doctor again. He tricked her into cooperating, and when he got the 6th chip, he used a bomb to attack her and took her chip to return alone. But because the bomb wasn't too strong, she only lost an arm. She didn't know why this game was still continuing. She warned Himiko to be careful because when they get the 6th chip, it's when the test of trust begins. She then told Ruta about the helicopter that would come to pick them up when they got enough chips. So Ruta decided to hunt for 7 chips and lure the pilot to come, then use bombs to threaten and hijack the helicopter. He wanted to return to Uncle Terra, but Himiko hadn't told him about what would happen when they got 6 chips. They then said goodbye to the woman and were shown the quickest way back. The lizards would only come at night, so they needed to leave early in the day. The woman chose to trust that Ruta would protect Himiko. Meanwhile, Uncle Terra had been saved by the doctor who had left the woman behind earlier. He had stopped the bleeding for Uncle, and his purpose was just to save him to use him later. Ruta and Himiko had returned there. He cautiously asked him to step back, but he explained that he was just passing by and saved Uncle Terra in time. Uncle Terra also told he to stop because this man had saved him. He chose to believe, but still wanted to see what his bombs were. Looking at them, he knew these bombs were the type that could be set and detonated remotely. He saw no signs of use, so he trusted him. But in fact, he just hadn't encountered anyone in the past 3 days. He introduced himself as Daddy, and when he heard that Ruta's group only needed one more chip, he planned to take advantage of he. The supply plane came again, so the group wanted to go get food for Uncle Terra. Although he didn't like it, Ruta still wanted him to rest assured. The three of them then went down and saw the direction of the nearest supply. Scanning showed that there were up to 6 people nearby. The three still decided to rush in to compete with the others. Scanning again showed that 2 people had given up, 2 were still heading in their direction to compete, and 2 were just observing. He still rushed in and then encountered the glasses-wearing hangman who had set traps before. Both rushed towards the suitcase but missed it, so they had to face each other. He saw that this hangman was quite tough and also ready to fight. Both sides threw bombs at each other and retreated. Himiko encountered a girl who was with the other guy and was knocked down by her. She dropped a bomb and left. Ruta was hiding behind a rock, not seeing the other guy anywhere. Daddy had gotten the suitcase but couldn't remove the parachute. The other guy threw gas, and he told Daddy to leave the suitcase and run. He then threw the suitcase back and detonated the bomb he had attached to the suitcase to remove the parachute. He handed the suitcase to Ruta to pick up. He caught it and ran to avoid the other guy snatching it. Himiko was still alive and took out the electric baton to threaten the girl. She had regained consciousness and thrown a bomb away. She was confident that she had the upper hand because her bombs were artillery type, while the other girls were timed, and she also had an electric baton which countered the other's iron rod. As for Ruta, he was trying to run when suddenly fire bombs flew in from somewhere and blocked his path. He couldn't run away, and these fire bombs were from a guy who was with the kid Kira, throwing them down. Kira advised this guy to finish off Ruta, but he didn't listen. The guy with glasses rushed in and kicked Ruta in the mouth, then stole the suitcase and jumped into the water to extinguish the fire. He also got hit again, so he had to jump into the water too. Kira wanted him to ambush at the shore where the other 2 would climb up. As for Himiko, even though she had an electric baton, she still couldn't gain the upper hand, because the other woman grasped Himiko's psychology and knew the reason she carried self-defense tools. Himiko lost her composure and attacked, so she got kicked and lost her electric baton, then was restrained. The woman advised Himiko to give up, but Himiko now didn't know why she had tried so hard to die before, but now was desperately clinging to life. She realized the reason was Ruta. She resisted and pushed the woman away, retrieved her electric baton and pressed it against the woman, causing her to angrily grab Himiko's head. A bomb from Daddy flew over, and luckily both of them managed to dodge it. He had actually intended to kill both her and the woman, but when he saw she was still alive, he came over and asked about her well-being as if he had just saved her. She knew she couldn't trust this guy, but if she said anything now, he would take action immediately. Meanwhile, Ruta had climbed up to the shore. He saw the guy who threw the firebomb and decided not to come ashore yet. The guy didn't see anyone there but noticed the suitcase, so he casually went to grab it and then stomped on the bomb and died. The guy with glasses got another chip, but Ruta stood up and threatened him with a bomb, forcing him to drop all the bombs and the suitcase. He complied, and Ruta didn't understand why he could give up everything so easily. He told the guy to move away from that spot, and he was still worried that the guy had set a trap. He was concerned that the guy had some kind of remote control and asked him to show his hands, but he had nothing, which made Ruda even more suspicious. When Ruda later risked approaching, the guy had activated the detonator hidden in his mouth. He thought he had succeeded, so he activated the radar, but Ruda was still there. The organization was very excited about the battle between the two, as Ruda had 3 chips while the other guy had 4. It wasn't necessary to kill the other person, but just getting enough chips from the other would be sufficient to escape the island. The guy with glasses had hidden the controller in his sleeve and used his mouth to retrieve it when Ruda wasn't paying attention. But Ruda survived because he didn't actually approach the suitcase, instead going in the direction that tricked the guy's vision. Ruda knew he would rush into the smoke to get the items, so he threw a bomb, but the guy didn't come and instead went to the corpse to get the firebomb. Ruda had run into the water to escape the firebomb and then helplessly watched as the guy took the suitcase away. Somehow the guy suddenly knew Ruda's name. Ruda didn't know how he knew his name, so he asked, but the guy just turned away. When Ruda later climbed ashore, he met Kira again. The kid thought the battle between the two was great and also wanted to have a rematch with Ruda someday. He had also taken back the bombs from Ruda, since Ruda couldn't use them anyway unless the kid died. Ruda then collapsed exhausted on the sand. Himiko and Daddy came to find him. He apologized for losing the suitcase. Daddy outwardly said it was okay, but inwardly cursed Ruda as useless. Himiko hugged him to show her concern. On the way back, Ruda still didn't know how the other guy knew his name, but he also noticed that the guy resembled a friend of his from school. That person's name was Oda, and he excelled at everything from sports to academics. Girls flocked around him, but he chose Ruda as his best friend. Oda had once realized that Ruda liked a girl in their class and told him to be brave and confess to her. But comparing the gap between himself and Oda, Ruda thought that this cowardice would cause him to die as a virgin. Then one day, he saw the girl he liked crying, and it had something to do with Oda. So he asked and found out that Oda and the girl he liked had slept together. Ruda couldn't keep his calm and beat up Oda. Both were suspended afterward and Oda quit school entirely. Ruda heard that he now runs a big club. He felt that he should have asked about what happened back then. After reflecting, he thought that guy really might be Oda. They then had to divide the meager food supplies that Daddy had brought. He was very angry and regretted joining the group. He knew he had to leave this group soon or try to get the chips quickly. Ruda tried to feed Uncle Terra, but he kept feeling unwell. Daddy examined him and found that lizard venom was hindering his recovery process. Remembering that the old lady's place had medicine, Ruda wanted to go back there and bring Daddy along because he would know what medicine was needed. Himiko didn't trust Daddy, so she decided to go too. Uncle Terra was left behind again, and Ruda promised to return soon with medicine. On the way, Himiko tried to warn Ruda about Daddy, but he believed Daddy was a good person because he had shared food and saved Uncle Terra. When they arrived, both knew they had to hide the truth about the old lady from Daddy, so they lied about how they found this place. The three then split up to search for medicine. Daddy found himself back at this place once again. He soon reached the medicine cabinet and grabbed several bottles randomly as most were no longer usable. He called Ruda over and asked if he trusted him because he had overheard Himiko's suspicions earlier. Ruda still chose to trust him, so Daddy handed him the suitcase and told him to keep it safe. Suddenly, Himiko returned and told Ruda to throw the suitcase away. Daddy realized he had been exposed and detonated the bomb immediately. He then laughed gleefully, thinking he had dealt with Ruda. He went to find Himiko and intended to deal with her too, but the old lady stabbed him from behind. He recognized her instantly. 10 minutes earlier, Himiko had gone to ask the old lady about medicine and learned that only antibiotics and painkillers were left. She pointed to the room with medicine, and they discovered Daddy. Recognizing an old acquaintance, she warned Himiko about him and the suitcase, so Himiko rushed down to warn Ryuta, but was too late. The old lady led Himiko away, but she no longer had the ability to fight. Daddy followed and detonated a bomb to block their path. He herded them outside and stood in the middle to observe, but the old lady took a bomb from Himiko and threw it at him. He ran away in fear, but it was actually to lure her to where he had planted bombs and detonated them. The old lady fell down, and because she was holding a bomb, it also exploded. The old lady passed away while Daddy pursued Himiko, wanting to collect all the chips to escape the island again. He still gave her a chance to join him, but she didn't believe him because he had deceived the old lady similarly before. So he took out a bomb and threw it at her. She thought she could now die with a clear conscience. Suddenly, the bomb touched her but didn't explode because it hadn't been activated. It was Ruta's bomb, which meant he wasn't dead. Ruta stepped out from behind Himiko. How he escaped death wasn't difficult, he had noticed when Daddy ran away. So he threw the suitcase and hid in a nearby corner, only sustaining minor injuries. Now Daddy only had remote bombs, so Ruta still had an advantage. Ruta decided to abandon his naivety and deal with Daddy. Daddy refused to surrender and ran away, trying to lure Ruta to where he had set traps. He lured Ruta to a bomb and intended to eliminate him there, but unexpectedly, Ruta had moved the bomb to where Daddy was hiding. Ruta then decided he had to eliminate this threat, but the old lady returned. She was still alive and decided to take Daddy's life herself. She couldn't forgive him, but just because of an apology, she decided to raise her scythe and cut to one side instead of the middle. She still couldn't bring herself to do it and even saved him. Ryuta couldn't understand this, but Himiko somewhat understood, thinking that perhaps only women could understand each other's feelings. Ryuta then decided to quickly bring medicine back to Uncle Terra. He also planned to check some corpses on the way back: the fat guy's corpse, the corpse of the mentally unstable kid's father, and the buzz cut guy he encountered at the beginning. In total, there were only 6 chips, but the buzz cut guy had 2 types of bombs, so he must have had more than 1 chip. He then returned with Himiko to check, but all 3 corpses were gone. Himiko still felt guilty about killing the fat guy, so Ruta tried to reassure her that it was unavoidable self-defense. He then didn't know who had taken the chips because only Uncle Terra knew about the 3 people he had encountered. When returning to the hut, he climbed the ladder and heard a noise. He discovered that type of tracking bomb, and the only person who had it was Uncle Terra. While waiting for both of Uncle Terra gradually experienced hallucinations. He heard his son's voice, so he ran out and fell down. He really wanted to return to his son, but didn't have enough chips. The image of his wife appeared and reminded him that he did have enough. He already had 2 chips taken from Kai's father, and the fat guy, 3 chips from Ruta's place, and 2 from he and Himiko were enough. That's why he was now targeting both of he. When he were about to reach the hut, the lizards had awakened. Uncle Terra waited for both of he to climb up to activate the bomb. When the bomb flew towards he jumped down and ran away. It still followed he, forcing he to use an iron bar to knock it down. The bomb came again, but even though it was hit, it was still within blast range. Ruta's leg was injured. Both of he tried to call Uncle Terra to stop. Himiko knew this was the challenge her aunt had mentioned, while Ruta scanned but found nothing. He realized Uncle Terra did this because he had repeatedly left him alone, making him so afraid. He saw herself becoming like the adults he hated. Her father was so busy with work that he neglected the family, causing her mother to divorce and remarry. He didn't accept it, so he caused chaos at home, and now he were neglecting Uncle Terra just like her father neglected he. Himiko decided to stand up to protect he. She knew this bomb only exploded when close to the target, so she caught the bomb and deactivated it. Seeing how she protected he realized she was indeed the Himiko he knew from the game. Uncle Terra recognized the problem and changed his target to Himiko, but Ruta had caught on to him and rushed to catch the bomb. He ran away in fear, but both of he detected him. He both chased after him and wanted him to come back. He thought he were chasing him to kill him, but then he fell down the mountain and was about to use the last bomb to deal with both of he. However, when he heard Ruta's apology and her plea for him to return, he was moved. He realized he was wrong, and now that the lizards had arrived, he knew this was the end for him. He apologized to his family for not being able to endure any longer and aimed the bomb at himself before detonating it. When he both heard the explosion, he came to look and found that he had died. Ruta tried to blame himself for not apologizing earlier, and now there was no chance. Afterwards, he both returned to the hut, and Ruta let Himiko know that Uncle Terra was just as ordinary as anyone else. He understood that the uncle had endured a lot, and his constant neglect had contributed to the uncle's departure. But Himiko asked if he wanted to leave this place. She took out 3 chips from Uncle Terra's place. With the 3 chips he had plus hers, he would have enough. She wanted he to take her life and return because she had nowhere to go now. He were the only place for her to return to, and even though it was just a virtual world, he had saved her many times and stayed by her side when she was most desperate. She realized he were her hope for living, but he weren't that kind of person who would accept her sacrificing herself. He had realized she was the Himiko from the game that he always wanted to meet. He asked for a kiss first, and the two of he were supposed to have a sleepless night, but Ruta noticed Himiko was still scared. The image of Oda appeared in her head, urging Ruta to go ahead, but he decided not to become like him and demanded him to get out of her mind. Ruta then turned to Himiko and wanted her to stay optimistic. He said he would gather enough chips with her and escape from here. When that time comes, he wanted to date her. They hugged each other. Meanwhile, the organizers suddenly rushed to bring helicopters to the island and had to bring the goods back in one day. The remaining people on the island would continue to fight until they could return home. And here the movie ends.